All right, let's dive in. Today we're heading down south to Arkansas, to the swamps, to be exact.
Oh, sounds a little spooky already.
Yeah, and we're going even deeper into spooky with this one, talking about the Boggy Creek Monster.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Have you?
Yeah, I've heard of that one vaguely, but I'm excited to learn more, for sure.
So, to really dig into this one, we've got two sources for this deep dive. Boggy Creek Cryptid and Boggy Creek Monster.
Cool.
Yeah. So the goal is to sort of unravel this whole legend and see what we can figure out about the so-called Fookie monster or the southern Sasquatch, all the same creature.
Right.
So picture this. It's, the thick, swampy backwoods of Fouke, Arkansas.
Okay.
And for decades, people have been whispering about this creature that's lurking in the shadows.
Right.
So right off the bat, I'm kind of curious about the timeline of all this. Like, how far back does this legend actually go?
Well, it's interesting, we often think of Bigfoot, right, as like the original hairy hominid.
Right.
But the Boggy Creek monster kind of predates even that term.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like you can find, newspaper reports going all the way back to like the mid 1800s, right to 1851, talking about this large, hairy creature just kind of lurking around.
Huh. So we're not talking about some like recent internet sensation.
No.
This is like legit old school folklore.
Yeah. Back then, it wasn't even called the Boggy Creek Monster. It was called the Jonesville Monster, actually.
Jonesville Monster.
Yeah, because, well, that's where most of the sightings are happening.
Gotcha. So Jonesville Monster, and then it's sort of like
Migrated over to
Fouke. Migrated, yeah.
Yeah, so, the sightings shifted to Fuking the 1970s.
Right.
And that's when it really became associated with that area.
Okay, makes sense. But, there were still sightings before the 70s, right?
Yeah, of course. Like one notable one was in 1955.
Oh, okay.
This 14-year-old boy, he reported seeing this, like, reddish-brown, hairy creature kind of sniffing around Boggy Creek. But, some investigators at the time, they thought it might have just been a black bear.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
In those shadowy swamps, it could be pretty easy to mistake one creature for another.
Yeah, exactly.
But, speaking of those swamps, we have to talk about the encounter that really put the Fookie monster on the map, right? The 1971 incident with Bobby and Elizabeth Ford.
Oh, yeah, that's a wild one.
It is, and I've heard it's pretty terrifying.
It definitely is. Okay, so picture this.
Yeah.
You're Elizabeth Ford, right? You just moved to this new home near Boggy Creek.
Okay.
And you're asleep on the couch. It's late at night, and suddenly a giant hairy hand reaches through your window.
That is terrifying.
I know, right? Like
a nightmare.
Straight out of a nightmare.
Straight out of a nightmare. So what, her husband and his brother just let this happen?
No, they actually had to fight the creature off. They did.
Yeah, they did. And according to them, they said they struggled with this creature for several minutes.
Oh, wow.
Which is, that's a long time to be wrestling with a monster in the dark.
That is a long time.
And the really interesting thing is the physical evidence they found afterwards. There were these three-toed footprints.
Uh-huh.
Scratch marks on the porch.
Three-toed.
And damage to the siding.
Yeah, three-toed footprints.
That's not...
You don't usually hear that with your typical Bigfoot,
Not your typical Bigfoot, no. Yeah, that's strange.
That's one of the most puzzling things about this whole thing, actually. Some researchers, they've pointed out that primates, apes,
right,
they have 5 toes, so it would be very unlikely, for this creature to have only 3.
Yeah.
So some people, they think it might have been a hoax, but others, they're saying, well, maybe we're dealing with something completely new here,
okay,
a creature that we haven't, documented before.
Yeah.
A completely different type of primate.
Well,
yeah,
that's a very tantalizing idea, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to those descriptions for a sec. What were people actually seeing? What does this thing look like?
Well, as you can imagine, the descriptions vary a lot.
Yeah.
Some people said it's 7 feet tall.
Okay.
Others say it's closer to 10 feet.
Wow.
And the weight estimates, those are all over the place, too, ranging from 250 pounds to a massive 800 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. But most people agree on a few key features. It's a large creature, walks on 2 legs, bipedal. It's covered in this dark hair. And almost everyone mentions this, a really awful stench.
Oh, no. What kind of stench are we talking?
Think like skunk mixed with like wet dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not a pleasant.
Not pleasant
No.
given the swamp, I guess. That makes sense.
Oh, right. Yeah, and some people even reported seeing these like glowing red eyes, like silver dollars in the dark.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, right. It sends chills down your spine just thinking about it.
Chills, absolutely. So, I mean, we've talked about the sightings. We've talked about this crazy fort encounter,
Mm.
these strange three-toed footprints.
Yeah.
But what about the town of Fook itself? Like, did this become like a full-blown media circus?
Oh, absolutely. After that Ford incident, the Fouquet monster was like national news.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, newspapers were going crazy. Radio stations were offering rewards for its capture.
Wow.
People were coming from all over with guns, hoping to like bag the creature. That the sheriff actually had to implement a no guns policy in the area.
Wow.
It was that intense.
So it wasn't just locals talking about this anymore.
No, no.
This was like the whole country was suddenly fascinated by this Arkansas monster.
Yeah, exactly. And that fascination just exploded in 1972 when this docudrama called The Legend of Boggy Creek hit theaters.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so, I mean, a docudrama, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a film that kind of blends documentary-style footage with fictionalized scenes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And this movie, I mean, it really solidified the Fouquet monster's place in, like, American folklore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've got this history of sightings going back over a century, this terrifying close encounter that makes national news, and then a movie that brings the legend to life on the big screen.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Did people just, like, stop seeing the monster after all that attention in the 70s?
Well, that's where it gets interesting, actually. Well, the
Yeah.
70s were definitely, like, a peak for Boggy Creek monster sightings.
Right.
The legend didn't just fade away.
Really?
No, people kept reporting seeing it throughout the years, even though it was less frequent.
Huh. So the mystery lived on.
It did. Like, for instance, in 1991, someone even reported seeing it leap from a bridge.
From a bridge.
Yeah, can you imagine?
That's a sight.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And there were all these rumors swirling around about missing livestock, even attacks on dogs.
Attacks on dogs.
Yeah, and, you know, people were attributing it all to the Fouquet monster.
That's not just a shy creature hiding in the swamp, then.
Yeah, right. It seems like it wasn't afraid to come out and, you know, cause some trouble.
Wow, okay. But, I mean, with all these stories going around, there had to be some people who weren't buying it, right?
Oh, of course, of course. There were always skeptics. And, I mean, they raised some valid points, actually. Some people argued that, like, those three-toed footprints were just too strange to be real.
Yeah.
So they were suggesting it was a hoax.
Right.
Others, you know, they were pointing to the possibility of misidentification, especially in, like, those dense, shadowy swamps
Yeah.
where, you know, a glimpse of a bear could easily be misconstrued as something, you know, more monstrous.
Right, yeah. Your imagination can run wild in those kind of environments.
Absolutely. And even in Fook itself, opinions were divided.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, the mayor, for instance, he was convinced that those tracks were fabricated.
Right.
But then you have the Miller County Sheriff who maintained that there was definitely something unexplained out there.
Huh. So even in the town where this all started, there wasn't like a clear consensus on whether this thing was real or just like a tall tale.
Exactly. It's almost like a Rorschach test, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like people see what they want to see
Mm.
in the shadows of those swamps.
It's fascinating how this creature could just spark so much debate,
Yeah.
even in the community most familiar with the legend.
It's really, really interesting.
So this brings up a bigger question then. With all this conflicting evidence, with eyewitness accounts, and then the skeptics sort of, clashing, where do we stand today?
Right.
Is the Boggy Creek monster a real cryptid, a misidentified animal, a product of folklore, or perhaps something else entirely?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think the answer might be a bit of all of those.
Okay.
It's possible, right? That some sightings, they really were just misidentified animals.
Yeah.
Like a bear in the twilight could look much more monstrous
Right.
than it really is.
Yeah.
But then you have those recurring details, like the three-toed footprints, the stench, the aggressive behavior, and those don't quite fit with any known animal
Right.
in the area.
So you're saying there might be a kernel of truth,
Yeah.
like buried beneath, like layers of exaggeration and myth-making.
Precisely. And that's how folklore is born, right? And it's fascinating how this story has just resonated with so many people for so long.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Even without definitive proof, that legend of the Boggy Creek monster, it still captures our imagination.
It really does make you wonder, like, why are we so drawn to these stories of the unexplained?
I think it speaks to our innate desire to believe in something beyond the mundane. You know, in a world that can feel increasingly predictable and explained, there's something alluring about these mysteries
Yeah.
that remain unsolved.
I get
It keeps that spark of wonder alive.
I like that. Speaking of keeping things alive, one of the articles mentioned a festival dedicated to the Boggy Creek monster.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, the Fukin Monster Festival. It's this celebration of all things Boggy Creek Monster.
Okay.
It's a way to keep the story going, to attract tourists, and it even benefits the local school district.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they've got discussions, presentations, and all sorts of fun activities,
Okay.
all related to the Fook monster.
That's amazing.
Right.
They turned a local legend into a community event.
Exactly. It just shows how, like, a good mystery
Mm-hmm.
can really bring people together.
I like that. You know, one of the things that strikes me as we're kind of diving into this is the sheer range of interpretations
Yeah.
surrounding the Boggy Creek monster. Like,
Yeah.
we've got hardcore believers who are absolutely convinced it's a real cryptid
Yeah.
to, like, staunch skeptics who just dismiss it as a hoax.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's that middle ground
Right.
with the folks who are open to the possibility but need more evidence.
I think that's what makes this case so intriguing, you know?
Yeah.
It forces us to kind of confront our own biases and consider different perspectives, like what do W believe and why?
Right.
Like what level of evidence do we need
Yeah.
to be convinced of something that's extraordinary?
Those are such great questions to ponder.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of a good mystery.
Mm.
Like, it doesn't always have to
Yeah.
be solved, right? Sometimes the most satisfying part is the journey of exploration
I agree.
and the conversations it sparks.
Couldn't agree more. It's the process
Yeah.
of piecing together the puzzle.
Right.
Even if we never quite find all the pieces, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what keeps us, you know, engaged and intellectually stimulated.
Absolutely. So after kind of exploring all these different facets of the Boggy Creek monster legend,
Mm-hmm.
what stands out to you the most?
You know, honestly, it's those three-toed footprints.
Okay.
They're like the enigma at the heart of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because if they're real, you know, and not just part of some elaborate hoax,
Right.
then what kind of creature
Yeah.
could have made them?
Right.
It really challenges, like, what we think we know
Yeah.
about primates and the natural world.
Now that is a point that I hadn't fully considered.
Yeah.
If we entertain the possibility
Yeah.
that this is a real creature,
Right.
those footprints become like a crucial piece of the puzzle.
They do.
And you know what? One of the articles actually drew a connection between the Boggy Creek monster and another cryptid,
Oh, yeah.
the Momo sightings
Oh, yeah.
in Louisiana and Missouri.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm not just making stuff up.
No, I saw that too.
Both descriptions have those similarities.
Yeah.
This a hairy humanoid with those aggressive tendencies.
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder if there's some kind of connection or even like a whole network of these creatures
Oh.
lurking in the swamps and forests.
Like a secret society of cryptids.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a thought.
Right.
That's a thought. This deep dive has really opened up some fascinating possibilities.
Yeah, it has. We went from a local legend
Yeah.
to national news, a movie, a festival, and now the possibility of like a whole network of these unknown creatures.
Yeah, yeah. It just shows how much depth there is to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Even in a story as familiar as the Boggy Creek monster.
Right.
You know, you've hit on something really important there, I think. It's easy to dismiss these legends as just stories, but when you really dive in, you start to see how much more there is to uncover.
Absolutely. And I think it's that potential for discovery
Yeah.
that keeps us so intrigued. We might never have like definitive proof, but the journey itself, the
Mhm.
exploration of the unknown, that's what makes it so rewarding.
I'm ready to pack my bags and head to Fouquet for that festival.
You too, me too.
Maybe we'll even catch a glimpse of the elusive Boggy Creek monster ourselves.
Who knows what we might find out there,
Oh.
right? But even if we don't see the creature, I
Mhm.
think just immersing ourselves in the legend and talking to the people who believe in it, it'll be fascinating.
I agree. It's all about embracing the mystery and keeping an open mind. Which brings us to a really thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What if the Boggy Creek monster isn't just one creature? What if it's a whole species?
Wow, a whole species. Yeah, that would definitely change things.
It would, right. Like, we talked about those three-toed footprints being such a mystery.
Mm.
But if we're actually dealing with an undiscovered species,
Right.
then it's entirely possible that they have, like, unique anatomical features that we've just never seen before.
It would completely rewrite what we think we know.
Exactly.
About primates and evolution.
Imagine the implications for, like, science.
Oh my gosh.
Entirely new fields of study.
Yeah.
Challenging, like, our fundamental understanding of the natural world.
A paradigm shift in zoology and anthropology.
I am so captivated by this idea.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It would explain those sporadic sightings over such a long period.
Right.
Like maybe there's a breeding population hidden in those vast swamps and forests.
Right, and it would definitely add another layer of complexity to this whole mystery.
For sure.
Because instead of looking for one elusive creature,
Yeah.
we'd be dealing with a whole ecosystem that we don't understand.
Okay, I have to admit you've officially piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
What kind of evidence should we be looking for?
Oh, okay.
If we're trying to prove or disprove the existence of a whole new species.
Well, I mean, we would need to move beyond eyewitness accounts and blurry photographs.
Right.
We would need a dedicated scientific investigation.
Okay.
Like DNA samples, hair fibers, footprints analyzed with experts.
Right, yeah.
We need to study their behavior, their habitat, their place in the ecosystem.
It'd be like stepping into a lost world.
It's that.
Discovering a piece of the puzzle we never knew existed.
It would be groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
A true testament to exploration and the mysteries that are still out there.
So after this deep dive, I think it's safe to say that the Boggy Creek monster is more than just a spooky campfire story.
It's definitely more than that.
It's a puzzle with pieces scattered across time and folklore, with these tantalizing hints of something truly extraordinary. We've explored the history, the eyewitness accounts, the conflicting evidence, and even the possibility of a hidden species.
A whole new species.
And what's so captivating is that there's no easy answer.
Nope.
The mystery is still open.
Wide open.
So as we wrap up our journey into these murky depths of the Boggy Creek legend, we leave you with this.
Okay.
What do you believe?
Yeah.
Is it a real cryptid?
Is it a misidentified animal?
Is it just a product of our collective imagination?
Or is it something even more incredible?
Whatever your conclusion, we encourage you to keep that sense of wonder alive.
Absolutely.
Keep questioning, keep exploring, because the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered.
They're out there.
And hey, if you ever find yourself in Fuke, Arkansas, be sure to check out that Fuke Monster Festival.
I would love to go to that.
You never know what you might discover.
You never know.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Happy deep diving.
Happy deep diving. Now that's a fascinating thought.
It would, right.
Yeah, we talked about those three-toed footprints being like a real head scratcher.
Right.
But if we're dealing with an unknown species, then it's entirely possible they have unique anatomical features that we haven't encountered before.
It would rewrite everything we think we know about primates and evolution.
Imagine the implications.
Yeah.
Entirely new fields of study would open up.
Right.
Challenging our understanding of the natural world. It would be a paradigm shift.
Totally.
In zoology and anthropology.
I'm completely captivated by this idea.
It's a good one.
It would explain the sporadic sightings over such a long period.
Right.
Like a breeding population hidden in those vast swamps and forests.
And it would certainly add another layer of complexity to the whole mystery. Instead of searching for one elusive creature, we'd be dealing with an entire ecosystem that we barely understand.
Okay, I have to admit, you've officially piqued my curiosity. What kind of evidence should we be looking for if we're trying to prove the existence of a whole new species?
Well, we'd need to move beyond eyewitness accounts and blurry photographs.
Right.
We'd need a dedicated scientific investigation.
Okay.
Like DNA samples.
Okay.
hair fibers,
Mm-hmm.
footprints analyzed by experts.
Right, yeah.
We need to study their behavior, their habitat, their place in the
It
ecosystem.
would be like stepping into a lost world,
Exactly.
discovering a piece of the puzzle we never knew existed.
Yeah, it would be groundbreaking, a true testament to exploration and the mysteries that still lie hidden in our world.
Well, after this deep dive, I think it's safe to say that the Boggy Creek Monster is more than just a spooky campfire story.
It's definitely more than that.
It's a puzzle with pieces scattered across time and folklore, with these tantalizing hints of something truly extraordinary.
Right.
We've explored the history, the eyewitness accounts, the conflicting evidence, and even the possibility of a hidden species.
A whole new species.
And what's so captivating is that there's no easy answer. The mystery remains open.
Wide open.
So as we wrap up our journey into these murky depths of the Boggy Creek legend, we leave you with this. What do you believe?
Yeah.
Is it a real cryptid?
Is it a misidentified animal?
Is it a product of our collective imagination?
Or is it something even more incredible?
Whatever your conclusion, we encourage you to keep that sense of wonder alive.
Absolutely.
Keep questioning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, because the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered.
They're out there.
And hey, if you ever find yourself in Fuke, Arkansas,
Oh,
be sure to check out that Fuke Monster Festival.
I would love to go to that.
You never know what you might discover.
You never know.
Until next time, happy deep diving.
Happy deep diving.